Here's what we got going today. 4 lobster tails. These are on the small side. That's usually what we buy. And for the presentation, I want to take this meat out and sit it on top of this shell. So the first thing we got to do is cut these shells, and we're going to cut it down to about here. We need to detach the meat from this membrane in order to lift it up and sit it on top of here. First, let's make this cut. And again, we just want to cut right down the middle, but we don't want to cut all the way through. We want to cut down to about this last one and leave it attached, just like that. And now I want to use my finger to just gradually work this open. Some people say use your thumb. That really makes it wide. And you can kind of roll it around, and it helps release from that shell too. And then take your other finger and just, if you can, grab that whole thing and pull it up through that crack. You want all of that meat up on top if you can. You're gonna get the best presentation that way. I ain't gonna lie, I had trouble with this because I don't do it often. All right, let's get everything seasoned. I got some melted butter right here. That. We're gonna add some parsley for color. Paprika, again, for color. Onion powder. A little roasted garlic. Just kind of brush this on like that. And even on the shell, even though we're not going to eat it, it's just part of the baller presentation to do that. Make the colors pop. We're going to add a little more of this paprika. And a little more parsley. For the corn on the cob, first we're gonna rub it with this hot and spicy mayonnaise, and then we're just gonna season it. And then we're ready to go to the grill. So I like my corn on the cob on the salty side, so we're just gonna go with a rub that has a pretty good amount of salt content. It's a very balanced rub, but you can taste the salt and it's not in a bad way. So we're just gonna hit it with this Uncle Dave's Spices and Rubs. He sent me this as to sample, and I did it on a couple of other cooks, and it's really good stuff. So lobster tails take almost no time at all to get ready, man. I want to give these cobs a little bit of a head start and then put the lobster tails on. The minimum safe internal temperature for lobster, fish in general, is only 145. So it doesn't take long for something like lobster tails, which doesn't have much meat, to get to that temperature. So that's why it gets done so fast. But you really don't want to go a long way past that temperature, because the further you go past that temperature, the more your stuff is going to dry out. So I'm going to put these cobs on directly over the fire and just roll them around until I start to get a good amount of char. And the good thing about this corn on the cob is that once you get it like you want it, you can sit it over to the side and it'll sit there and it won't dry out, you know, especially if you wrap it. But I don't think I'm going to need to wrap it because these lobster tails are going to get done so fast when I put them on. And once I put them on, I'm going to close that lid and they're going to get done real fast. So we're looking for some char right now. So I'm gonna let it go like that 5 minutes at the most, and then I'm gonna come back and check the internal temperature of my lobster tails, and I'm gonna show you how I do that. It's probably been about 2-3 minutes since I put everything on. So let me take a look, rotate the corn, and get a temperature on my lobster tails. First, let's see what the lobster tails are doing, how they're going along. That one's already at 75, 82, 70 something. Right. So we want to get them to 145. We'll rotate these. Maybe even pull them back a little bit. But the corn is gonna be fine. I'm not worried about that. Matter of fact, we can put them back here. Spread these out a little bit. Put the lid back on and let them roll just a little bit longer. But I'm gonna stay close by though, because trust me, it does not take long for these things to get ready. I made that mistake the first time I cooked them, and they still didn't burn. But man, I was not prepared for how fast they get ready. Beautiful night out here. I'm so glad to be back home, man. My regulars know our story and what's happened to us over the last year, and maybe in the community tab, I'm gonna be sharing some of that with y'all, man. But tonight, suffice it to say that it feels good to be back in my own backyard on these grills, man. Loving life right now. All right, let's get another check. I want you to see how fast these get ready, so I want to do it in real time for you. Look at how the meat is plumping up already. And if I stick my meat thermometer in there, now we're at 95. So you definitely don't want to undercook any kind of seafood, any kind of meat really, but especially seafood. You got to be careful with it. So we're going to make sure it hits at least 145. We give it another few minutes. 10.